Let's start with that quick review for this book, The End of Trauma. I'm gonna give this book 3 out of 5. Barely even got a 3 to be honest, so maybe a low 3. The only reason it did got a 3 is that I kind of agree with the premise that trauma is overblown a little bit in current environment, and he puts an emphasis on resilience and flexibility mindset and such, which is not common enough in the common discourse. That's the reason for the 3. The rest of the book is just stories, lots of stories. Some of them are better than others, but overall, just too many stories, too long stories. The book could definitely be shorter than it is, more like an article, probably. So, if not for the premise, probably at 2. So, let's see the notes. PTSD is trauma that doesn't go away. It's the difference between trauma and PTSD. That PTSD is lingering around. The problem with PTSD is that it's not biological and therefore diagnosis is not accurate and based on fleeting variables. That's the problem with PTSD. It's hard to diagnose when someone has PTSD and when it doesn't. It doesn't have biological marks and variables to define or decide, like diagnose. PTSD is based on fleeting variables. Resiliency helps people cope with traumatic events. So resiliency is one of the keys. That's what helps people to ultimately cope with that trauma. Contrary to expert belief, people had much less PTSD following the terrorist attack on the Twin Towers. So that's at 2001, 1911, September 11th, 9/11. Sorry, not 19, 9/11. They predicted a lot of PTSD, but contrary to their belief, there was much less than they predicted, which put an emphasis on resiliency and such. Mental health does not follow a bell curve, which many things do follow a bell curve, but it doesn't follow a bell curve. I forgot what it follows, but there is more health, people with a healthy mental health or mental state than none. So it doesn't have follow a bell curve. Side note, there are too many stories in the book. That's one thing I said in the review. Too many stories. Some of them also are not that good. They're just like stories and stories and stories, and those are long stories too. Well, you can tell a short story, but I know some people like it. Personally, I don't. Reappraisal and problem solving mindset are effective ways to deal with trauma. So, those are some of the effective ways we can deal with trauma. Reappraisal, which is changing and the way we understand and what it did for us. We can find, oh, it actually was good for us because of X and Y. And also problem solving mindset. Let's say we tell ourselves, okay, how do we solve the problem at hand instead of ruminating on it. Next one is emotion suppression could be useful in some situations, but not all. Sometimes it's good to suppress emotions, but sometimes it's not. The next one is optimism could aid resiliency. That's one of the keys to resiliency is being a little optimistic about what's to come. And finally, the last one, flexibility mindset is the key concept. So if there's one thing from the book is flexibility mindset. You just have to be a little flexible. Sometimes it could be a little hard, especially after that traumatic event. But we have to be a little flexible and trust our body and mind to do its thing. That's it for the book. Again, some very little interesting parts. I did not like the book. Again, it's personal taste. I don't like stories, especially long ones. So this book was not the perfect match for me. Though I do like the premise of trauma being overblown, as I mentioned earlier. So that'll be a 3 out of 5, a low 3. So Thank you. I appreciate it.